we value 165 different genders over economic input. And while we're arguing about, shit that doesn't matter, China and Russia, India, they're just getting on making sure that their people have what they need.
So they...
and they're just doing it.
So last time I was in Dubai, and Qatar for that matter, they've introduced computer programming or other types of IT-related stuff into the school curriculum.
Into the school curriculum, yeah.
Right? What are we doing? Now, I was actually looking up, I've always thought about, maybe I should go and do actuarial studies, but I can't be bothered. But I thought, I'm just curious, because I can shortcut, because I reckon you're probably leading into some of it. So I looked up a few of the courses. Actuarial studies, this is heavy mathematics to do generally with finance, investing, insurance companies. Very difficult course. Can you, just to tell me what you would think would be the number one, the first module that you have to do for actuarial studies in Australia? Go on, have a wild guess.
You would think it'd be mathematics, but I bet you it's gender studies.
Close, Indigenous studies.
You're joking. Are you serious?
Yeah, if you want to do Indigenous, I've got nothing against Indigenous studies or gender studies or anything else. If that's what you want to study, no problems. But let's have a think about the kind of people that are going to go into actuarial studies. They're either crazy flamboyant people like myself, or they're going to be nerds. Generally, they're going to be nerds, right? They're the kids that never went out.
It's a heavy spreadsheet job.
Exactly. They're the kids that never went out. They went home. They did their homework. They're good chess players. Like, these are the people we're talking about. A lot of them are foreign students as well. You're going to come over here. We've got 900,000 foreign students in this country. They're going to come. They don't care about our Indigenous issues. They don't care. How's that going to help them when they go back to India or China or Japan or wherever? It's not going to help them. Why is that part of this course?
Didn't someone do an acknowledgement of country when they're in the Middle East? One of our ministers.
Is
that right? Do you remember that?
Yeah. And they just would have looked at him and gone,
just like,
oh my God.
We are the first people.
So I went to Fiji earlier this year. This year, last year? No, this year.
Oh, this year.
Yeah. But where did you keep up my travel diary?
Oh, you told me.
Because you lose track. Yeah.
So I would travel so much. But so I was in Fiji, and the plane comes into land, and one of the airlines, I won't name which one, announces the same welcome to country thing, and we recognise the Indigenous population, or the whatever they say, the leaders,
past, present, and emerging.
And I'm sitting there on the plane. I'm like, are you fucking serious?
In Fiji,
where you have a situation. I'm Fijian Indian, for those of you that don't know, but I was born here in this country. Where you have a country where the Indigenous Fijian population are really pissed off at the British for having taken the Indians and giving them these land leases and then putting them in Fiji, and the Fijians say, hey, we want our country back.
Yeah.
And the Indians go, hey, hang on a minute, because when the Indian Prime Minister came over, the Indians said, hey, we got to go somewhere. Can we go to India? They're like, no, you got a new home. Like, hang on a minute.
Yeah.
The Brits go, oh, it's not our problem. Fiji's become independent. So this is an issue. Now, mostly this issue has kind of been okay for a while. But, you've got half the country of Fijian, you've got half the country which are Indian heritage.
Yeah.
And you go in there and say that. And you could actually hear the people that were on the plane that lived there just, fuming about it.
You would have been aghast.
Oh, and so I get off at the airport, and some of the flight crew came up, because I was the only person up the front of the plane, came up and said, oh, hey, I just saw your face. When, was everything okay when we landed? Was a problem? I'm a frequent flight. I was like, do you understand what you guys have said? Do you know how, divisive that is in Fiji? What are you trying to do? Start another coup?
Civil war.
That's the thing. What we say here, it doesn't apply to other countries. If you want to sit here and bullshit each other in Australia, you go for it. But the thing is that Australians don't like this either. And most Aboriginal people that I know, they hate this stuff.
Yeah, and it's not shocking why we're seeing so many countries or companies they're dropping ESG now. They're dropping it. I think it was Microsoft. After
go woke, go broke.
That's right.
You've got all these companies that embraced ESG, and their share prices are plummeted.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, Budweiser Light's fantastic.
Yeah.
If you like water.
But see, here's the thing with ESG stuff, right? Yeah. And this is something that there is actually some suggestion now the US is going to be looking into this. I've been saying this for such a long time. I won't name the companies, but some of the major asset management companies in the world are behind a lot of this ESG stuff. What they do is they get the boards and they say, you either do this or we're going to pull funding. And so they've got to make a calculation and go, well, even if the share price falls, we kind of have to do this anyway, right? And of course, this is subject to lobbying. Now, here's the thing. Some of these companies have contracts because pension funds are a little bit different to what we have here with superannuation. At least here you can opt out of an industry super and you can self-manage some of your super. Over there, a lot of the funding for this, for government workers, is sort of in a trust, and the trust then gets invested into these companies, right? And then those companies go around and do all this sort of stuff. And it's the same thing really with the industry super funds. Somebody has to explain to me how being a former union boss qualifies you to be an investment manager for a superannuation fund.
Yeah.
I don't think it does. I think what it does is it actually creates a loop where money goes into the super funds then give money back to the Labor Party, and it just goes around like this.
Yeah.
And you can tell this by having a look at the returns, the average returns for the industry super funds in this country compared to a place like Denmark. And you actually see that there's a little bit being taken off the top, in my opinion.
And exactly, and the union leaders used to be, people that had been in the industry for decades. So they had that enormous wisdom, and now it's sort of like jobs for mates. It's hand in glove with the Labor Party. It just makes me sick. But I was going to mention before, you guys were talking about, the idea that capital is becoming more scarce in Australia. People are taking it overseas. We were talking on and off camera about that. I very early on in the show, I brought this graphic up.